We're all set, boss?
Not yet. Okay, here we go.
Okay, call the meeting to order. First item is potential project updates.
Do you want me to take attendance?
Please.
Okay, Craig Leggett,
Here.
Michael Biddle,
Yes, ma'am.
Ryan Campbell, Mike Wild,
I'm here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here. We have a quorum. Potential project updates. We did get the signed contract for Nolan, so that's official now. Second is that we have two other leads, one for the big lot in the back that's still churning along. The second one is we have two others. One I just heard about this morning, so we'll look at it and see what's happening with that one. So there is some prospects. Hopefully we'll be all sold out of that project, that property pretty soon. Any questions on the project updates? Okay. Tom's with us this morning. Well, the first thing he talked about was he sent out the quote to put infrastructure back in that back 19 through 27 lots. And the estimated cost is like $500,000. So anyone got any questions on that for Tom?
Jump in and clarify?
What's that?
Can I jump in and clarify?
Sure.
The estimate is prepared based on the fact that it would be municipal construction, in other words, by the IDA, for constructing a municipal road and municipal infrastructure back to that curve that turns north. In other words, toward lots 26 or 25, 26. It's roughly 650 feet of extension. If somebody wanted to build a private road, different specs and narrower and put in their own infrastructure, it could be done for much, much less. But building it as a municipal road extension with utilities extension, the infrastructure, we think it may be as much as $500,000.
So that with the wetlands out there, I'm not sure that's what we want to look at. So hopefully we can get rid of that entire piece of property.
Yeah, I
We
would
also-
certainly shy away from building that if we could, but that's just a number to use for discussion purposes.
Yeah. Well, if we have one party interested in potentially taking that entire back lot, 19 through 26. So if they take it, that would be an easy answer.
Then they could build their own road and their own infrastructure for probably much less.
Yeah. I'm not sure they need a long road in there, but they may need it for raising beef. Okay, delineation discussion, Jack or Tom. Any other updates on that?
Well, I finally got a hold of Deb Roberts again to see if she'd be willing to help us with the transition to North Country Ecological Services handling wetland permitting. And she's been out of town, and we finally spoke, and she is not willing to get heavily involved with permitting. She is retired, and I couldn't talk her into it, but she is willing to participate in, one, maybe two phone calls to get North Country up to speed as much as possible in a short time frame. And then it would be up to North Country to carry the ball from there. So I will set that meeting up ASAP if the committee would like me to do that.
I would like you to do that, please, because I think there's potentially things we can do. So, Tom, a couple things that come up is people talk about that area we did an exchange with the airport for.
Yep.
Since they never did that extension out there, can we undo that?
Oh, boy. Interesting question. Well, we might be able to take credit for it. It's all built, of course. The wetland improvements were all built, so we might be able to take credit for ourselves if they don't need the credit. That certainly could be on the table.
Would,
Michael?
Mr. Chairman, Tom, would that entail the County of Warren giving it back to us, agreeing to give it back to us?
Yeah, there'd be some official transaction there, yes, I would assume.
But realistically, you couldn't undo that wetlands.
Well, undo it, no, and I don't think we'd want to. But I think it could be used for other development projects potentially, as you're suggesting.
Okay, that's good to know. And I appreciate setting it up and going forward with that.
Yep.
Let's see, we have
Do you want me to put that? Do you want me to put that issue into the mix in this discussion with North Country?
It would be worth a discussion.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, basically, look at the wetlands now, we're down to 4, maybe 5 lots potentially we could sell. And even those have some wetlands on them. We'd probably have to restructure a couple lots even to do that.
Well, we may be able to use it within the park to help developers within the park, or maybe somebody elsewhere in the immediate vicinity. In other words, in the Warren and Washington County areas near us. The Corps of Engineers was reticent to do that years ago. They wanted it in the same watershed, and they even went down to micro watersheds. But they might be willing to expand our allowance of wetland credits to beyond that now. I don't know. It's worth the discussion. So it might help somebody somewhere else.
Okay, good. Any other questions for Tom? We haven't seen him for a while. He's been very busy, thankfully.
And quarantined for a while.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Biddle.
that 500, just going back to that 500,000, that's, I certainly, I mean, I've been working with Tom for 20 years. I wouldn't doubt his veracity at all, but that certainly is a number that was floating around my head prior to Mr. Jarrett submitting it. So more than very valid. And in my opinion, not even doable for us via that, to put in via the quality of that property or lack thereof, the quality of that property. And Tom, thank you for doing that and taking the time.
I must be getting old because I even was shocked by the number. I didn't think it would be quite that high.
It's amazing where costs have gone. It's amazing that property, it's not getting cheaper.
No, it's not. And you're right. This property is not ideal for development. It's got potential for some types of development, but straight up industrial park, it's not the shining example.
We're looking at something similar in Greenwich, so that's where I kind of got the number to base off of, Tom. So we're getting the same things.
Yep, good to hear.
After walking that property, I would estimate in one area, it's almost 50 to 60% wetlands. On the other side of the divide, so to speak, there is some good area there which people can use it, but there's still wetlands there and some ponds there. So if anyone wants an education, they walk back there and see what happened when we logged it. Unfortunately, it created some issues when they dragged the ruts with the skidders and stuff and really spread the water. So good. Anything else for Tom? I guess thanks, Tom.
Very good. Thank you all. Have a good morning.
Have a good day, you too. I'll call the Executive Governance Committee together, committee order. First item is approve this January 6, 2021 minutes of the IDA Executive Part. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Move, Mr. Campbell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Biddle. Any omissions, corrections, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Old business, dewatering road status. I'm told that Mr. Lange is going to Mr. O'Connor's office this morning to sign off on the deeds. I will let you know what I hear the rest of the day. Ally, we have old business from you.
Hey, Dave.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. from the discussion the other day with the Fort Edward resolution of giving that little 0.06 acres to the IDA, we're all set now, all the way from 196 down to the park?
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, as long as everything's signed.
That was a good process.
Yeah. We have Carrie, Ally?
Yes, as far as the training goes, everything is same as the last meeting. However, the surveys, I'm going to call a couple people out. There's only 2 that I'm missing. Mr. Bruno, he's not here, but Mr. Wild, I'm also looking for your, I'm also looking for your survey, board survey.
Hey, Ollie, I will work on it. Not right now, but I will work on it.
All right, thank you.
Mike, did you take these trainings someplace else?
I've been trying to figure that out. I was on it the other day. I thought I did, but let me just finish them and get it over with.
If you have, just send us the date you took them and we'll be all set.
Okay.
Lester,
Yes, sir.
same question on your harassment and violence. Did you take that training at Fort Edward?
I have not. I have not.
Okay. Catch that up, we'd appreciate it.
Yep, got to figure out where to get it.
Okay.
I took that. I got that one. Ally, I'll get that over to you.
Okay.
And I think, Lester, we're all doing those online now.
Oh, okay.
I think Ally sent that out to us, but I'm sure Ally will send that again, so you're compliant.
Oh, yes, please do, because I've got a lot of time to do that.
Okay.
I'll make the time. Priorities.
Okay.
I'm just glad it's not just me.
No, it would be a nice thing to get Ally off all our backs. Did you ask Ally or Kara if she's taking those trainings yet?
I haven't actually. We just got it at our office to take it. Sexual harassment?
Yeah, violence. Okay. I'll send you to O'Connor's this morning. Okay. Anything else to come up? We did get a letter from Mr. Nickus. I think Ally sent it out. Basically went over $500,000. Actually went over by $600,000 in his project costs. We calculated his cost of 1.4 million, correct?
Mhm.
So essentially, he's gone over by $600,000 in the project. Technically, if we look at doing this, he's asking for revised sales tax exemption of $42,700 instead of originally $35,000 exemption. So if I do my calculations, I believe that if we raised it, he would owe us the project fee on the additional, what he says, $600,000 project cost times 0.75%. So he would owe us $4,500 for additional project cost if we were to approve this.
To save 7,500.
Save, actually, I'm not sure,
His letter says he went from 35.
7,500, yes.
So it's 75. So he's going to spend 4,500 to spend 7,500, and then it may get disapproved by the Kingsbury Town Board.
No, there's no Kingsbury Town Board approval required. This
It was
is just
required the first time, I thought,
That was because of the pilot.
just because of the pilot. Okay.
No towns can say anything about, the IDA is the only one that has say on mortgage tax and sales tax. There is no town or county jurisdiction there.
I guess you'd spend 4,500 to save 3. I guess.
There'll be legal costs too, probably, whatever it costs.
Is he aware that he has to pay another fee?
So his options are right now, his sales tax exemption has expired. His option is to pay the sales tax on the excess, seek an extension from the board. And then the closing documents indicate that once your project is completed, if you've gone over your estimate for your total project cost, you're responsible for any increase on the administrative fee. So that provision is included, so somebody doesn't come in and tell you their project's gonna be $1 million, pays the admin fee on 1 million, but their project's really 2 million. In this case, I mean, I don't think he was purposely underestimating the project, he just went over. So the language in our documents does say that you reserve the right to collect any additional administrative fee. That was something ABO also asked about when they did their audit.
So also,
So I
Ally found a letter from last year. Correct, Ally?
Yes,
What was the text of the letter, please?
it wasn't a letter, it was an email where I had reached out to him and asked him if he, prior to the end of the year, if he had any intention of looking for not necessarily an increase, but an extension before his time was up. And he had responded no. So I did reach out to him prior to all this, and he said he didn't need an extension, let alone an increase.
It's up to the board whether we want to grant him an extension or not.
Well, my question is, does he understand he's spending 4,500 to save 7,500, which there may be some more costs in between. If he knew that, maybe he wouldn't even be coming back. And I guess I'd want to make sure he was well aware of that before we really went further.
Right, but the exec committee has to say, we want to consider this, and we'll respond to them in kind with a formal letter that says this will be the cost associated with this request. If the IDA was to consider this at their full board meeting in 18th.
Mr. Chairman?
Answer back.
Oh,
So,
Mr. Leggett, go ahead, sir.
No, Michael.
I'm about to make a motion, so I'd rather hear your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, if Mr. Nickus had come to us originally and said it's going to cost this amount of money, would we have granted him the sales tax exemption? And probably the answer would be yes.
Are you getting my ESP today, Mr. Leggett? Because that.
Michael, I channel you all day long. It gets in the way sometimes.
No
but-
wonder I feel something.
That would.
so what would be your emotion there, Mr. Biddle?
Yes, sir. I'd make the motion that we extend this to the $2 million request that Mr. Nickus has for remanding it to the full board for a full vote, for approval.
Okay. And
Second.
Who seconded it? Greg? Got a motion by Mike and a second by Mr. Leggett. Any further discussion? Yes, Brian?
Since we're doing this online, is this called an emotion?
It might be if he's watching.
Thank you,
So-
Ally.
So we want to write him a letter now, or?
I think what we would do now is tell them that the executive committee has recommended this to the full board for approval. Here's where we're at. There would be an administrative fee collected. We would extend it out. So he wouldn't need to undertake recapture efforts, see what he wants to do. I mean, it's up to him. If he wants to pay the sales tax, he can pay the sales tax.
Mhm.
Did we,
I mean, and then if he tells me he wants, or us, he wants to withdraw it from the full board meeting, then we'll make the report and confirm that he made the payment of sales tax.
Okay. So respond to them, say notify them, we'll do this, and here's the cost associated with bringing a full board meeting, let them know at the full board meeting.
Yeah, because we should resolve it sooner than later because all of those ST 60 filings are gonna be due coming up rather quickly here, so. ST 340s, sorry.
Mr.
All in
Chairman,
favor? Yes, Mr. Leggett.
I wonder if we could have an update on the project. It would be good to see what they've accomplished.
Certainly. Certainly, you can ask him to do that.
It,
I'm sure he'd be glad to give you a tour of the building.
Like to see it.
Mr. Chairman, do we have to take this to a vote on my motion?
Mhm.
Yes,
And,
I was waiting for the discussion to end.
oh, well,
Oh.
the last discussion is, Mr. Leggett, I've toured the building on 3 occasions now, throughout the construction process. He's poured his heart and soul into this, and it is beautiful. And it's nice that, again, the whole second floor is taken up by Warren Washington Consortium, and there's plenty of other tenants in there. So it's pretty remarkable. But as Mr. Nick has stated in his letter, he clearly pointed out to me throughout the process, holy moly, it's one of those. You rip open a wall in an old building and guess what you get? You get more dollars going out the door. So, but I know if you called him, or I'd be happy to set up a tour with you, sir. And then that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The other item of business is continuing executive director discussion. I would ask Craig, he's done some research from some preliminary research on some of the other IDAs. Could you sort of capture that 14 IDAs? Could you sort of capture what you found out in your sort of your survey? Unmute.
There. Ally, can you allow me to share my screen?
That's a really good question.
Might be on your bottom bar there somewhere. If I can see.
Okay, I'm under share screen, and right now it's currently checked at 1 participant can share at a time. So does that mean you can?
I
Hope so.
hope so. Let me see. I'm trying to. Doggone it. Huh. I might not have anything to share. Let's see here. Dave, I sent that to you last night, so it should be on my drive here. What I did as background here, I pulled up all of our surrounding counties. So we had 14 counties altogether. And just to see how they are organized. And many of them have executive directors or CEOs that are active. They will also have a certain amount of staff. Some of them look like they're embedded with the EDC or a county EDC. Gosh, Dave. Let me see if I can pull it off of what I sent to you last night. Doggone it.
Craig, I just emailed it back to you.
Okay, thanks. You know, sometimes this, thanks, comparative. Okay. Share screen. Zoom in.
There you go. Got it.
Okay.
Good job, Craig.
Woo. Good teamwork here.
Perseverance.
Right? So 2, 4, 6, 8 out of the 14 have executive directors. And then 4 others would have CEOs that look like that's more than just a name, or they're have an active role on the operations. So we would be in line. If you look at Warren, Washington County, we're pretty light. We have Ally.
That's not light. Now, come on.
What else do you need?
Right.
Ally's good.
You know, and what we also have is a chairman that does quite a lot. So that,
Interesting enough,
yeah. So
if you look at Director of Economic Development, if you look at them, most of the ones that have Director of Economic Development, some don't have a executive director, so I bet you it's doing dual duty.
right.
I mean, maybe what we really want to start out with is a Director of Economic Development instead of an executive director.
To be able to guide the process, right? You think about the function, and when we look at the executive director description that Dave had put out there, yeah, a director of economic development, a person that takes these properties and guides it through the process.
Well, I think to sort of try and be a little clearer on this, I think what my picture of economic development, Director of Economic Development is someone who is meeting with community members, meeting with accountants, lawyers, bankers, spreading the message of what the IDA can do and to help people. Also reaching out to companies, looking at potential prospects coming into the area, working with people like Saratoga Economic Development, I guess it could, Prosperity, as long as Saratoga EDC, with New York State Economic Development area, and reaching out to other areas and chambers of commerce that says, hey, listen, Warren, Washington County is a great way to come. We got great taxes, great low taxes in some of our places. We have a good workforce. Why don't you come take a look at us? So not only is it prospecting for potential leads,
I have a.
Do they freeze up?
Does Warren County have an economic development person like Washington County does?
In a way.
for our project services, like Washington County. I
Well,
know
there's an economic development corporation there. My concern is we're going to have multiple people trying to do the same thing, and I'd rather see some synergy between these groups instead of us going out and doing the same thing as what their charter is.
So I agree with you, Mike. I think that the first step is for us to work towards getting this on board and working with other organizations to sort of spread the wealth. But I think that we also have the need to market properties. Not only our own properties or potential properties, but help market some of the other economic properties in the area, such as the development over Warren County on Queensbury Avenue. And then there's one over in the Tech Park. And look at other areas in the area that look at doing it. And yes, I do agree with you, we need synergy. I think that our mission with our projects is slightly different than economic development. I think that my vision would be to start off this way and then to build into it and work into working with the other economic people in the area to get some synergy in moving forward. So I agree with you, Mike. It's just that it's not being done now, and I'd like to see it done. I think that having a representative from another organization trying to sell the services the IDA has to offer is a little different. And I'm not sure that I think we need to represent ourselves in those areas. So I'm not disagreeing with you, Mike, but I want to get a start and have them start working with all the other areas. I've already reached out to Judy Caligiero to discuss things and about working closer together. She's on board. There are some things going on that will not be able to do that right away, but she wants to talk to Dan Hall about potentially doing that instead of a meeting. So she's talking about the potential of doing that. So there is some interest in that.
Which group is that, Dave?
She's a Glens Falls IDA.
Glens Falls IDA.
She
So,
also is on the board of EDC.
okay, so my question is, since I know the board isn't willing and spending a lot of money on this, is there a possibility, since I gotta believe that the EDC completely understands what we can bring to the table. And I would understand that Laura Oswald completely understands what we bring to the table. Is there a way to give them like a contract fee? Because it's not like they would spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on this, but they would be able to sift through the different things that are coming up and going forward and which ones we would fit. I'm just thinking that would give us the synergy at the same time. It's an outside the box look, but it may work and maybe nobody's on board with that. I don't know. I just thinking out loud here.
Well, it depends on what we want to do. The question is, do we need a full-time one or a part-time one to start?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Part-time, you've got the players that already know, and that's why I was thinking if the EDC, if we gave them a few funds to funnel stuff at Warren County, and we gave a few funds to economic development in Washington County, I would say it would be the same amount, but I would think that they would have they already have the pulse of what's going on or could be going on, and they would know when and where to throw us in the mix to make sure that it happens. I think that would be.
They've known us for years. They have been doing it. Bottom line.
But we've never given them any money to do it. This is why this might be.
Yes, here, just remind me, yes, we were part of economic development of Warren County. Washington, Warren County worked together, they just separated.
There used to be, years ago, there was a contractual arrangement between the two entities.
Yes. But they had a fight over something, right?
I don't know.
That was before my time. Mike Middle might know.
Yeah, no, we heard this story at one other meeting, that somewhere along the line, something got sold and somebody thought they should get paid and it didn't get paid, and so they left us. I heard this a few meetings ago. Maybe Nick told us. I think Nick told us the whole story. So Mr. Cayamano could probably refresh your memory on that.
So here's my
I
impression.
don't think I'd give people money to do things when we have no control over it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mike.
let's take a different perspective on this, if you don't mind. A business is coming into the area. Who do they reach out to? We have the Warren Washington County IDA. We have the Glens Falls IDA. We have the Warren County EDC. We have the Washington County EDC. We have all these different entities that, in my mind, are competing with each other. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't doubt that we need some help with some of the administrative stuff that's fallen on your shoulders. I totally respect that. But in terms of going out and getting someone to do economic development, where we already have people that are chartered to do that, I think we need to find a way to bring these groups together and find a way to make it work. And there, you know, there's always personalities, there's always these silos that exist. We need to break them down if we're going to be effective and efficient. I've always said that what's good for Warren County, if it happens in Washington County, it still helps Warren County indirectly. So it makes sense for us to have a regional approach to this stuff. And maybe it doesn't work when we have a bunch of board of supervisors that are more concerned about getting their own town something or their own county something versus somebody else. But I'm more open to that. I think we need to be working together closely to make that happen. And there's some examples in terms of how that's happened in Lake George over the summer. I don't know if you guys heard, but you know, we've had our marketing budget reduced by half because of the pandemic. We did really well because people started sharing ideas and leveraging what other people were doing instead of sometimes repeating what their peers were doing.
So Mike was funny that the
can't
FDA was
support
right.
going out and doing, I'm sorry, but I cannot support going out and saying we're going to hire an economic development person, whether it's full-time or part-time, without first going to these other groups and working hard to try to figure out how we can make things happen together. I'm done.
I think that you're right. We should be working together. One of the issues really is that the mission of the EDC and the mission of the IDA are slightly different, in some cases completely different. They'll have the same goal in mind. So, I have no problem trying to work together. It was surprising the economic development recovery in Warren County didn't include the IDA. So, I mean,
well, actually, you know, I was on that. Other people were on that. I was always talking about the IDA and what the IDA could do to help.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm losing battle, so I'm going to drop it right now. Yes, Greg.
So as I was looking through these 14 different counties and how they are set up in their relationship and economic development for their areas, I could come back with archetypes, little scenarios of the various ways they are organized. And that might help us take a look at our needs and what can be done. So just to be able to continue the discussion, I can dive into this chart a little bit more and present back to the executive committee.
Craig, and if you don't mind, can we look at an effectiveness, some kind of measure to say how well they're doing, right? Some of these people, Clinton has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, others have 4. You know, Montgomery has, what is it, 6, 7? How effective are they with that kind of staff? And what are their results? So I think it would be good to look at models to find out who's had the most success. And it's not just staff, I'm sure. There's about the land that's available, about the incentives, but it would be good to understand what their bandwidth is and what they're doing.
Okay.
I recognize Kara.
I just had, just to comment on your comment, Mike, I would encourage you to possibly reach out to Montgomery County. They're very active. They are located directly on the thruway. There's a thruway exit there, but if right along that, I'm from Amsterdam, so I'm familiar with the projects that they do. And right along their 5S corridor, I mean, they've got all sorts of distribution facilities right along there. So they're very active. So I think it's a good point. I would encourage you to reach out to Montgomery County and ask them what all these people do in these roles. I don't know the answer to that, but they are very active. Just what I really wanted to say is that as you're going through this discussion, I really encourage you to think about the future of the IDA and how you don't and not just take this position in this moment in time. You currently have a chairman who's extremely, extremely active. So if there's another chairman in place at some point in the future, you're either going to have to be sure that that incoming chairperson is willing to undertake all of this activity or have someone else in this position that's going to be communicating with the companies, staying on top of the projects, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's been years where we've kind of done some of that. I don't necessarily know that it's worth your money to pay us to try to do that either. I mean, we should be here from a legal perspective. And that's just one question or one idea that I think you should keep in the back of your minds as to the future of the board positions and how you foresee those versus how you see someone who's truly going to be doing development work for the IDA. And however you envision that, but I think that's what you need to keep in mind, that I don't know
Greg,
that
can you stop
everybody wants to, take an active role in a chairperson position.
Greg?
Yeah, I can. I think. Let's see here. Stop share. There you go.
Michael?
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. I 100% agree with Mr. Wild, but so there's A, B, and C. I'm going with C. That is 100% agree with Mr. Wild. I think humbly that the chamber is a great example of working with all the other entities across both counties. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of that support has come from people like Mr. Wild. So he knows what he's talking about. That I don't doubt. Having had the honor and pleasure of being in your seat, Chairman O'Brien, from 2006 to 2009, I think I was 11 or 12 years old. There certainly what Miss Lias, in fact, Miss Lias had just come on, I think the last year that I was chair. And no, she didn't chase me out. But what I'm saying is, I think there's a duality that needs to happen here from the amount of work. And especially with what Ms. Kara said, I think we do need a position within the IDA to help because Chairman O'Brien, you're doing a great job. You are not going to be there forever. There's not going to be other people that are helping you on this board to the degree that we can help you or the future chair. We need that consistency. And I would urge us to hire somebody and accelerate our partnerships with good people like the EDCs in both counties who are more than willing and able, Mr. Siplon and Ms. Oswald, who I work with extremely well. So I think it's option C. I think it's both. We need somebody, we need to up our game across both counties. Thank you, Chairman.
To be effective, part of the person's job is to work with EDC and the IDA, or not the IDA, Glens Falls IDA, with the Regional Planning Board, with the LDCs, which we have many. And I agree we have too many alphabet soups there. The problem is that it is very hard to merge those. It'd be almost take an act of Congress to merge the Glens Falls IDA and Warren Washington County IDA. However, there is possibility of working together, sharing an office space and sharing staff, share expenses. But could we merge them two together? No, we couldn't. Lake Champlain Regional Planning Board has loans. They do loans. We have other places do loans. Could we merge those? You could probably have the Regional Planning Board take over some of the loan portfolios, but vice versa couldn't happen because there's too many distinct responsibilities of the Regional Planning Board to 5 counties that expand way beyond loans, and loans almost became a secondary issue to the important research and economic and research and the SEDS and the work with Economic Development Agency, and they work with DOT, and they work with DEC. So yes, parts could be merged together, but you can't replace them because they all have their own separate and distinct distinct responsibilities, some by statute. We also have Washington County Economic Development Coordinator, one person, who is back, what she's got an assistant right now, who's back way up. She's busy 100%, almost 120% of the time doing grants, loans, working on loans, grants, research to find companies. She's reaching out to all the other areas. So this won't work unless we work together. But for 8 years, we weren't really aggressive about that. By working with Nick, we've shown how we reach out to get people. In 4 or 5 months, look at the projects we brought on board. Look at the companies we've been able to help and move forward. How many more of those we need to get the message to? And how do we get the message to those people? And you're right, Mike, I'm only one person. Will I be around forever? I hope there's someone else that comes in that does as much as I do. But I'm not sure you're going to find that person. But we need continuity. We need the ability to move forward. We need the ability to get our message out. We need the ability to work with every single organization, the banks, the accountants, the lawyers out there to get them our message out, because they can give their message to their customers or potential clients. Ryan?
Yeah, so I think Kara framed it real well. I like where Mike went. And you finally put the word in there that Mike just lacked, was continuity. I think the continuity is what we're after. How we get that continuity remains to be seen. The bigger issue is, to begin with, there's certain individuals don't want to pay an extra person to do all that work, whether it be part-time, full-time, or whatever. As long as it pays for itself, I have no problem. The second part of that is all the same people are talking to these same groups as we would be. And that was why I went where I went, because they know who should be funneled to the IDA and who shouldn't be. I think it can be created in a way where we get the right people sent to us. But in what platform, I don't know. I mean, I like the way that Craig's dug into it, because we'll get to see what's worked and maybe not reinvent the wheel, but what we need may be a reinvented wheel. Maybe that could be what comes out of what Craig know, is that, this worked for this one, this worked for that one, but you know what? This is what would probably work for us. And we need to figure out what that is. But when people work together and nobody's worried about who gets the credit, you can get a hell of a lot accomplished. And that's kind of where we need to be.
Well, part of my goal, and one thing I want to do is to free me up, is to work more on this issue of working with the organizations to help bring things together. I think it's absolutely right. I spoke about this. We had a meeting about 1.5 years ago. Unfortunately, COVID and other things came together, and we sort of ended up not continuing that conversation. But I still think we need that conversation to continue. I think with the opportunity, I think that with EDC, with Ed Bartholomew, God bless his soul, did a huge amount for Glens Falls, did a huge amount for the area. But I think that in some cases, he was a little bit overextended with what he did. And hopefully we can redirect those energies in different areas for the EDC, for everyone else out there, for the loan companies out there. So we'll see. So where does the board want to take this? Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll jump in. Let's explore it seriously. There is, having been on this board since 2016, I've noticed a remarkable change over the past couple of years since with you being in there, Dave. We have positioned ourselves much better on marketing the lots and driving business and helping out, fulfilling our mission. And that takes an incredible amount of energy. Brian, picking out that word continuity, is very astute, that we need to make sure that the energy that's been put in is able to continue on through the years. One thing that all organizations, volunteer-based organizations, need to be careful of is burnout. That people that volunteer and get involved in community have a lot of drive, a lot of energy, but it's not unlimited. And it needs to be respected. And while things are rolling along well, is a time to put into place the mechanisms to keep the momentum going. So this staff person that the IDA is looking at would be able to provide that continuity as we all change. We come and go with election cycles and appointments. And the IDA remains, and its purpose remains, to serve our community. So I'd say let's continue to explore this and see what is the best bet. And I'm with a new position, if one of the concerns is, will that person be occupied enough, have enough to keep them busy? Perhaps one of the tasks that they could take on is what Mike Wild was just talking about, and that is organizing this group effort of what we have. What if there was a consortium of sorts? What if we did have a forum that pulled together the IDAs, EDCs, the COCs, and so on, and people presented and got to know each other all in a room, or whether it be a Zoom room or a conference room, so that we all saw comprehensively what we all worked on, and then plotted out how we can do that better, how we can build that synergy. But to do that, that takes a person that's pretty dedicated to the job to get that task done. So I think there is a need out there, and it would serve the community well. Thank you.
Bill?
Ditto.
So actually, Mike asked me this question about 6 months ago. He said, Dave, how long are you gonna stick around? I'm 71 years old. I'm in good health, in good shape. I'm not, and I told him the same thing. I said, Mike, probably about a year, I'm gonna be looking to move on. You know, so you have to start planning, where are you gonna fill the gap that I leave? Is someone on the current board gonna be able to step up and take that load? And it is a load. You know, and keep someone busy. I know enough about marketing, sales, and Mr. Biddle knows probably a lot more than I do, that we can figure out a way to keep a person busy, the structure and organization, details, contacting people, reaching out to people, marketing campaigns, letters, everything else, to get people phone calls, to get involved. And yes, Mike, I love the idea of getting these alphabet soups, as people discuss them, working closer together. I talked a little bit to Jim Siplon about it, about 4 or 5 months ago. We sort of, I don't know if it's been that long, 3 months ago. And I think we're on the same page, but, you know, we need to start moving it forward, but, you know, we have a gap we have to fill, and filling it with people from other organizations is not going to fill that gap.
Right.
Yes, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, I do agree that we need some help. What I'm thinking about doing is offering an opportunity to help maybe figure this out, maybe with some help of a couple of people on a screen that I see, Mr. Biddle, for one. But the reason why I'm thinking we need to go out and identify what the roles and responsibilities these unique alphabet soups feel they have is that if we come out and hire an economic development person, there's going to be 3 or 4, maybe more people within our 2 counties who feel threatened by that. It's another economic development person is doing my same job. So what I'd like to do is maybe look at the different charters, look at the different roles and responsibilities, and start trying to figure out how we can get these groups to sign in to working closer together. And Mr. Biddle knows, right? We did economic recovery in Warren County. We need somebody to help pull that together, someone with the right personality to be able to pull that together. I was lucky because I told everybody I was stupid. I didn't know what I was doing, right? But I'm not sure I'm not signing up for that by any means, but I will sign up for helping to try pull this together. But it had, I think, a tremendous effect, and it carries on today. There's weekly meetings that this group is having to talk about opportunities and challenges and where we should go. And I think if these groups were involved in the same type of forum, it would make a big difference for us. So I agree, there's continuity we need to be concerned about. Burnout, definitely. Dave, you're doing an amazing job in the amount of work that you're taking care of. So we need to figure out how to make this happen quickly. So Mr. Biddle, I might be looking for your help on this if you can spare any time. No reaction.
I'd be more than willing to help too, Mike, because that's top of my priority.
I'm in. Let's make this happen.
So I'm not sure how I'm going to go about this, but I'll make a few phone calls. Let's see if we can fill something out, maybe have a Zoom meeting. Mr. Leggett, maybe if you're interested in joining, I don't know if we need more from Washington County and more from Warren County, but let's start rolling with this a little bit and see what we can do. And
why don't we get 2 from Warren County and 2 from Washington County? I'd like to be 1 from Washington County because I'm sort of living this.
Okay. Where does Mr. Biddle fall? He falls in the no man's land in between, right?
I live in Greenwich, New York, baby, and darn tootin' proud of it.
All right.
We
So
got the north and the south. He's the south, I'm the north.
You've in more ways than you think, David.
Mr. Leggett, is this something that you would feel comfortable participating in? Okay. Hands up. Okay.
Yes.
Chairman, I'm not sure how fast we can get something going, but I will dig into this. Hopefully not at the expense of the board survey and some of the other training that I need to do, but I will dig into this shortly and see if I can start setting up a forum to make something happen.
I would like to say that what I've learned, and I thought I knew a lot about the IDA over the past 10 years. I will tell you in the past 2 years, learned so much detail that it would be very hard for us to trust anyone outside the IDA to learn and assimilate this and how it fits in, the different branches it can take. I mean, the different customers we meet with, they go different paths of each one, and there's significant little details that change what we can do and what we can't do and why I can't do it. So we'll see. So I thank you for doing that, Mike. I appreciate that. We're actually talking the same page. I was just talking slightly different approach. Michael?
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. There's a lot that I've learned from Mr. Wild over the past year. Wait, did I just say that in public? Okay, never mind. Yes, there is a lot I learned from Mr. Wild. And one of the things that I learned was the consistency of getting everybody in the same room on a very set schedule. So, I mean, initial dreams in my mind would be Mr. Siplon, Miss Oswald, somebody from the IDA, somebody from the chamber, somebody, and once a month we get on a Zoom and we at least catch up, because there's so much going on around here, and there's so much. David, I agree with you. Not to Mr. Siplon's fault, not to Miss Oswald's fault by any means. They're not going to know the intricacies of what we do because they're not in it every day, and vice versa. We don't know what they're doing every day or what they can offer. When we can get together on a regular basis, Mr. Siplon might say something and somebody from the IDA might go, whoa, we can supplement that. Or we can get them down this, or did you call that person? I've seen it happen from the meetings that Mr. Wild has led for the past year in the county of Warren. And it's awesome. It breaks down barriers and it shows leadership and continuity for both counties. So thank you, Michael, for doing a great job this past year. Let's learn from it. Let's go forward and make it happen here.
Thanks. We'll try.
Michael, I'm about to twist your arm.
I can't hear you.
Either.
Whatever you're about to say, ask me later, please.
I was gonna say that a good vehicle for getting a message out would use some of your ARCC corners
Yep,
or meetings. And I think having the IDA, perhaps the regional planning board and LDC and EDC together to discuss what we can do for companies. That's a huge message we need to get out to people today. How many people know there's still $2.5 million in the regional planning board to be loaned out at 1.99% interest? Interest only for the first year. We need to get those messages out where the help is because companies need help today. All right.
I have an idea on that. I just have to ruminate on it because I think out of all the alphabets you said, there's one that's the most neutral. There's one that has the most contacts and relationships with each of these groups over both counties. So maybe there's one that could host them at their beautiful office location when this whole pandemic thing is over. But at their beautiful office location where you're currently located right now, Mr. O'Brien.
Mr. Leggett started a list already.
Yeah, so we'll put this out, people add to it, okay? And
Okay.
we'll throw the net wide on it.
Where's the IDA on there? Oh, there they are on the top. How about Glens Falls IDA?
They're number 3. Oh, that should be IDA, not EDC, sorry.
Okay.
But there is a Glens Falls LDC.
I guess what I was offering the ARCC to host these as a bring together neutral party that has contact with every single one of these folks on the list. And because you're going to need somebody to host and guide the meeting. I'm just throwing out there. I don't know if these other groups would agree. It would be my pleasure to do that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thanks, Michael.
I have your back, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Good thing you guys can't see my fingers. At least 2 of them.
I wore pants today. See you later. Thank you. Anything else come up for the good of the committee? Mr. Griffith, you've been silent. You get out in all these chambers and different stuff across across New York State, the pyramid. What do you think?
I'm mostly in our region right now as a result of COVID, but I like to think myself as Mike Biddle's Robin.
Batman is my favorite.
All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
See y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have a
wait,
good week.
we have the CDC.
Oh, CDC. Call the CDC meeting to order. What's on the agenda, Ally?
We have approval of the minutes.
So
I need a
moved.
motion to approve the minutes for the CDC.
First by Leggett, second by Biddle.
Craig, second by Biddle.
Okay, and then again, the member training and surveys.
All those in favor?
That will be
Aye.
until it is done. And that's it.
Any new business? Colin was at our accountant was at the office yesterday. You want to give a synopsis of that, Ally?
Mr. Coombs came by the office. He looked at a bunch of stuff and he left. He's just beginning the audit and he was just gathering everything that he needed to continue working. I probably won't hear from him unless he has any questions or needs further documentation or whatever, but I mean, it's ongoing. I have no news except for he's working on it.
Thanks, Ally. Anything else? Adjourned. Thanks all.
Buddy.
I